Hello everyone, this is Charlotte and we are chatting in cars. This is a podcast where I pick random topics, discuss them in length on a tangent whilst driving, and swear a lot essentially. I'm probably not going to give that up anytime soon, so if you don't want to hear anything that is remotely a naughty word, you can absolutely turn over and listen to something else. There is also a disclaimer because I talk about quite sensitive topics. Not exactly everybody wants to hear them. You don't have to listen to them, hence I'm giving you the chance to change the channel. The topic for today is commitment. I've chosen commitment because I've got some experience in it. I bet you've got some experience in it. It's not just relationship stuff, it's also life commitment stuff. If you want to achieve anything generally, there is a mindset that you should be committed to it, right? Sorry, turn around in the corner. It's always a good thing to have commitment, I think. I mean, if you want to achieve anything, you've got to have a certain level of commitment. If you fail to plan, sorry, there's a bus trying to take me out. If you fail to plan, essentially, these buses are kamikaze, aren't they? Bloody hell. If you fail to plan, sorry, I'm off with the ferries today. Fail to plan, you plan to fail is essentially the moniker we're using, essentially, isn't it? Motto? I mean, if you're not putting your effort into planning, you're going to fail. And if you don't commit to the plan, not that you can actually commit to a plan fully. I mean, even SAS sit there and, they'll mock up a plan, but essentially you won't know till you get in the field. But you've got to have some level of commitment to actually get the job done, really, isn't it? Where does my commitment stem from? Too many levels. Unfortunately, I am a highly committed person in relationships, unlike my counterparts that I keep finding. No, I just think if you're going to be in a relationship, you're going to be all in, right? I mean, there's no point holding back. If you're going to say you're going to do something, fucking do it, right? There's a lot of people that are a bit hesitant to do that, a lot of insecurity that goes around. Maybe people are afraid to fail. My ex-boyfriend was afraid to fail, so he never made any plans, so he told me. I just think he was a non-committal little prick. And he was more comfortable with me taking the lead and doing everything in order to get the job done so he could sit on his ass. I don't like that idea. I would rather have someone who is willing to put the same amount of work in with me, which is what I'm aiming for in the future, I think. So, yeah, that's my gripe about that prick. Of course he was non-committal. So was my ex-husband was non-committal. My ex-husband was a born quitter. Everything he touched, he bloody quit. Thinking about it, or like way back. Even in high school, he's just stopped going to high school. I'm sitting there doing my TE, trying to get into uni and stuff. He's not even bloody turning up. After that, he quit. What did he quit? He was in the Navy, he quit that. He was getting a motorbike license, he quit that. He was doing a psych degree, he quit that 2 years in because he didn't like the way they taught. So he quit his job. He used to work for his dad, he quit that. I mean, some people are just born quitters. I don't know why they bother starting anything at all. I mean, if you're just going to give it up a week later or something. I tend to be the kind of person that actually says when I'm doing something, I'm going to fucking do it. So otherwise I wouldn't put it on the table, right? You don't want to look like a mug. So if you're going to say something, you're going to say you're going to do something, fucking follow through, isn't it? You just don't want to be embarrassed when it comes down to it. So when I said I would, go to uni, I did. When I said I would get a job, I did. I said I would get my car I'm currently sitting in, I fucking did. And next year I'm going to be getting a house, so yes, I'm going to do that too. I tend to commit. What I'm finding is lately in relationships, I overcommit usually. Traditionally, in the past I've overcommitted to a person. These days I'm actually questioning whether I want to commit to them or not, which I think is probably a healthier balance, because you don't want to find yourself stuck with some asshole because you said you're going to do it, so you do it, right? And that's what happened with my ex-husband. It's like he absolutely was an overt narc and a piece of shit, but because I said, okay, I'm going to be married to this guy, and I still don't believe in divorce. I don't think there is I don't like it. Is more truthful. I don't like the idea of it. But then again, who does, right? It feels like quitting, which is absurd. Because sometimes you're in experiences and circumstances where you have to leave. It's the only healthy thing you can do is just to leave. And that's what happened to me, actually, because, he was an overt narc who was draining everything I was and absolutely destroying me in the process. So I had to leave, besides the fact he was not monogamous, which is it's something I would put above not wanting to get divorced. It's like, my moral compass is, you don't stay with someone if they cheat on you. It's like, it doesn't make sense. If they've got to the point where they're willing to cheat on you, then they've already thrown away the relationship. Unless, of course, you're that kind of person who can have polygamous relationships, and it's just like everyone's cool with it. I don't understand it myself. It just sounds like a bunch of people willing to throw themselves into traffic, because you're ultimately going to get hurt. But, some people are into that. Some people like the sadist side of things. I'm going to get shit for that. I can tell that. But, I didn't understand it. It's like, because I'm just intensely committed, I suppose. Maybe I'm overdoing it. Maybe it's a control thing. I don't know. Maybe it's a discipline thing. I mean, isn't discipline just control, really? Self-control? People look at control as like such a bad thing. It's like, well, you got to have a certain level of control to get some shit done, right? I mean, even when I was married, I was sitting there getting everything done because I was paying bills, doing taxes, doing all the food shopping, doing all the jobs, cleaning the house, wiping his ass, getting him ready for work, if he did work, It's like I was doing pretty much everything. I was essentially his mum. And I came up with a theory the other day. A theory. I was with him 16 years, okay? He was a toddler when I met him. It makes sense this way. It made sense in my head. So when it got to the point where, he had grown up to be 16-year-old and he's looking at, a normal 16-year-old boy would be looking at girls, right? That contributed to why he wandered, why he was non-monogamous. Because he didn't see me as his wife, he saw me as his mum. And in his mind, maybe, this is just a theory here, maybe he had come of age, and so he was looking outside the mother-son relationship. So that's why he's straight. I don't know. It's a weird thought. Oh, we're holding up traffic here. Wonderful. Don't you love those people that can't pull to the side in the lane so you can get around them? We're holding up so much traffic. Great. And we're on a construction site. This should be fun. But no, I know it sounds like a weird theory, but I don't think he ever saw me as a wife or as a woman. I think he saw me as his mother, essentially. I mean, I was doing all the mum things. He never really got past. He never contributed to the relationship. He was always the recipient of. So, I got stuck with that shit. Sorry, there was a bit of a pause there because I was waiting for the cars to pass. It's just a theory, I suppose. I don't know. And that's why he ended up going for some young girl. I say young girl, I don't know. I saw the girls he was trying to get. I saw, when we broke up, before we broke up a month, all on his Instagram and WhatsApp and stuff like that, there was all, And what is that? There's a Facebook equivalent of, essentially what I call fuckbook. I can't remember what it's called, but sex something, I don't know, don't Google it, but they're all young girls, and I'm sitting there going, now are you going through a midlife crisis, or is this your maturity level where you're finding these girls at this age attractive because your maturity level is that of a 16-year-old boy? I wonder, because he's 33 while he's doing this. I'm going, this is pedophilia waiting to happen, I wonder, I have theories. I'm still trying to, in my mind, even though it's 4 years later, trying to figure out what the fuck happened. Because I overcommitted. I thought we were set. I thought, this is it. Okay, I got him for the rest of my life. He's not great, but, do with what you got, right? Make it work. And I tend to stick with shit until I make it work. And you can't force some things, apparently. You can't force relationships because it just ends up being toxic as fuck. And for my part, I know I had some control issues because I wanted it to work. I wanted the amount of effort I put into that relationship to actually mean something, the amount of sacrifice I had made for him. I had no life. My life was him, essentially. He was a child for me, essentially. I mean, even though we were doing all the grown-up stuff. Gross. But But you know, I sacrificed everything for him essentially, and I find lots of people do this, thinking that if they give the entirety of themselves to this other person, that this person will stay. And the truth is, they're not necessarily going to do it. Some people will, yeah, we're optimistic about that, right? But some people just go, oh, that's nice, I'm going to keep that, and fuck off anyway. So they exploit that situation. It's like, wow, this is a lovely experience. You're absolutely sacrificing yourself for me. This is great for my ego. I'm going to take this, run with it, and drain you of your resources and keep going. They're parasitic little fucks. My ex-boyfriend was the same. He was thoroughly enjoying the fact that I was paying for everything and giving him, you know, copious amounts of sex and stuff like that. Constantly stroking his ego and not making him do anything that was bad for him or I deemed bad for him, you know. Like having to work. You know? I didn't want him to get stressed and stuff like that. Unfortunately, I'm that kind of person. I'm stupid in that way, that I try to make things too easy for them. And I do mother them. I don't know if that's, you know, me coming from trauma background and not wanting them to have to suffer, or, you know, I don't know, you could go in the esoteric side of things. I'm a Taurus. I'm as a woman, I'm like the mother, the earth mother figure, which is kind of true, because I'm like, I baby the fuckers. And it's terrible, because it never works out for me. I've had 2 of them now, and they just suck the life out of you. Kind of like kids. Do I regret not purchasing? No. I didn't buy into that. Oh, well, I had the option to twice, but, you know, they didn't make it. What can I say? But, you know, I overcommit. That's the problem. I need someone like me who overcommits. Because then we're a team, right? Someone who's self-sacrificing, the same as me. God, that sounds arrogant, doesn't it? Say it's self-sacrifice. Yeah. Anti-wonderful. But at the same time, it's like, that's the thing, it's like, that's the plan for me. If you're starting something, you fucking commit, you follow through, right? You plan it, if you can. If not, I didn't plan the last one, that was terrible. I just sort of went in and said, well, we'll see how we go. That was my ex-boyfriend, and we did not go very well, because he was non-committal and I'm over-committal, and every time I came back to try and check he was all right, he would, you know, do horrible things like, you know, get me shit-faced and coercively rape me, try and make me come back to him, sort of thing. It's like, oh, we're back together now again. Are we? I didn't even know we were. I thought you got me drunk and took advantage of me. That's strange people. And of course I'm sitting there going, well, I guess we could be back together. I guess. It's like, I'm not happy. And every time he would say, you know, I've changed this, or I'm sorry. Well, he wouldn't actually apologize, to be honest. But he would say, I've changed this, or we can do it this way, or I'm going to do this. And you'd believe them for the month. And then you'd find they've done something stupid, like, I don't know, left a hair clip down the back of the couch from some girl they banged on Australia Day. And you're like, wait a minute, you said you wouldn't do that. And so I'm sitting there being overcommittal, trying to make it work, even though these, you know, discrepancies keep appearing. And you're sitting there thinking, wait a minute, he's lying. I'm too naive with that shit. It's like, I just wanted it to work. Why won't you work? And that's trauma bonding, I think. Could be wrong, but they'll feed you this bullshit that they've changed, and they're going to, you know, they're going to do the right thing now, and this is what they're going to do for you. And it's all empty promises designed to hook you in, get you sucked in until they can get what they want out of you. And then they'll fuck up. Inevitably, they'll fuck up again. But because they've been nice to you for that little breadcrumb, you'll be like, oh great, they've changed, we can make this work again. And no, it was just constant shit fight of us breaking up and getting back together because he got me drunk. And it was nuts. I hated it. I was so fucking miserable. I was miserable for 2.5 years on and off. I was more miserable with him. I had more arguments with him than I did with my ex-husband, who was non-monogamous. Outright non-monogamous. I had more arguments. It was crazy. In 16 years. It was crazy. And I kept trying to make it work. And I'm going, I just got to let go, man. I got to let go. And it's not just a case of let go and keep checking that they're all right, which is my usual thing. This is what I kept doing in the past. I had to let go and go cold turkey. Cut off, block off, ghost. And I don't advocate ghosting. I think it's cruel, to be honest. But in terms of self-preservation, knowing that every time I went to go check on him, like I put it down to pastoral care in the end because I just wanted to check he was all right because he's a bit fucking useless. I know that he's useless. It's like he played on my emotions because I'm sitting there thinking, okay, can he defend himself? Can he get? No, he doesn't want to. He didn't want to because it meant that someone else would wipe his ass for him. If he came across as helpless, or that, you know, he couldn't handle his shit, someone, and always someone will, step in and do it for him. What is this game? We're stopped at a red. We're jammed at a red. Because some fucking lorry wants to jam up the fucking lane. Sorry. We were just stopped at a red light intersection, so I'm glad there weren't any cameras there. Because a giant crane decided to jam up the exit lane. Yeah. Assholes. Anyway, so no, that was his game. So he'd come across as helpless. Like when I used to visit him over the weekend before I moved in with him, his kitchen would be empty. There's no food. He had kept shit from ages ago. Like he just gathered shit that was all worn and stained, and he looks like he's homeless essentially, but living in a hovel. And he has a capacity to have a job. He had a job at one stage, but he just let it go. And at the time he was working casual as a lab tech for some uni, and he was just doing bits and bobs, right? He's qualified to work a full-time job. He just doesn't want to. What he wanted to do was have me walk in, pay for everything, notice that things were shabby or that there wasn't any food in the house, think, oh, he can't look after himself, I'll look after him. And then I'd be paying for everything. And he did it while I lived with him. I was doing all the groceries. I was spending $200 at a time doing the food shop. And I was doing his laundry as well because he didn't want to fucking do that. And it cost money to do the laundry because the laundry was $3 a load. And we were doing something like 4 or 5 loads each week. So I was paying for that. And he'd play on my emotions and he'd give me this trauma bonding experience where, you know, he would be sweet and kind and then he'd be a nasty prick. He'd say something horrible, like something about my beliefs or how I wasn't liberal enough. And the meaning of that was I wasn't liberal enough because I wouldn't tolerate him sleeping around. I'm not liberal enough. So he'd try and, you know, drag down your self-esteem saying, you know, essentially, you're not good enough. You're not enough. And you know what? As soon as they start saying that, believe them. Just leave. Believe them. Go, yeah, you're right. Fuck it. I'm not. Because I won't tolerate this shit. He tried to do it underhandedly one weekend after I'd gone out and I prepped this amazing weekend. We had all these nice things to eat, nice things to do. All we had to do was relax and chill and watch some movies, Netflix and chill stuff. And we'd come in from a pub and he said, I'm not liberal enough or something like that. And it was like a result of me not being okay with something like polygamy or something like that. And he kept little digs like that, just to undermine your confidence and to make you feel like you're not good enough for him. When in the reality, if you looked at it objectively as he was unemployed, he had no money, he's not faithful, he's not that fucking great, he's a bad lay. It's like there was nothing offering there, nothing worth, you know, taking on as a long-term sort of husband goal guy. And I think he knew it. And so he'd have a dig at you to make you feel like shit. So if he wasn't going to raise himself up to my level, he was going to pull me down to his, essentially. And that's the way, you know, it perpetuated the trauma bond, because you're sitting there, you feel like shit yourself. You're like, well, maybe he's right, maybe I'm not good enough, sort of thing. And you lower your standards. And he's a piece of shit, because that must have been what he's been doing for the last 20 years. Because I'm looking at his ex-girlfriends and going, you poor fuckers. I know what games he's playing now. I'm going, I can see why you guys stayed with him this long. Now, either he's picked it up from them, or, you know, he's been doing it to them. And you're sitting there and think, you piece of shit, man. It's like, that's someone who takes advantage of people who are overcommitted, because he knew what I was like. I told him right at the start, this is what I want for a relationship. I want sort of unconditional love. I don't want drama. I don't want hassle. And he was non-stop fucking hassle. 2.5 years on and off. Every time we broke up, every time I got free, it was all like, oh, I've got feelings for you. Oh, I'm sad. Or, oh, let's go and have a drink. Oh, let's get you drunk. Oh, let's, you know. And no never meant no with this asshole, particularly sexually. He had this weird sense of entitlement where he was allowed to do this because, you know, we were once dating at some point. It's like we'd been broken up for a month or so, a couple of months, and then suddenly, oh, I'm still your ex-boyfriend. I can just do this. It's like, I'll just get you on the couch. It's like, I'll get some booze into you. It's like, this is why I gradually started pulling back. I had to, because every time we hang out together, he'd find a way to get me drunk and on the couch again. I'm going, what the fuck is happening every time? It's like, that was his trick. I'd be saying, oh, do you want to catch up for a coffee? Like, meaning just a fucking coffee. And he'd be like, oh, but let's go for lunch. Okay. Where's lunch? Oh, it's in a pub. Oh, right. It's in a pub. Okay. All right. Let's have some pints. It's like, no, I'm not drinking. Oh, but you just have one, right? Yeah. Oh, okay. Fuck yeah. 3 pints in, 4 pints in, 5 pints in. Oh, let's go back to my house and relax. It's like, oh, Jesus fucking Christ. Here we go again. Oh, it looks like we're back together again. Yes. Yes. This is trauma bonding. That's the problem. I overcommit and he undercommits. He gets girls drunk to get back together with them, to compromise their, you know, inhibitions. And then you're stuck with this prick who's milking you for your shit. You know? I don't know how frequently this happens with guys. This is the kind of guy I attracted the last one. My ex-husband, I don't think it was that bad. I just knew him from 17 and he customized me essentially from 17 because I didn't know any better. I didn't fight back and I didn't say, I don't agree with this. I was happy. I had that romantic notion that when you're with someone, you love them and you love them with everything. And you don't hold back. And I was a young girl when he got me and I'm like, you fucking bastard. By the time I walked out of there at 33, I'm like, I'm going to kill him. I'm going to kill him. Do not come fucking near me. I will fucking, you know? I was very unforgiving at that age. And that's because of several years of just being fucked over by this guy. And he completely destroyed me when I left. It wasn't a case of, okay, I can walk out with a few shreds of dignity. He had customized me into, you know, what he wanted me to be. But in the end, he didn't want me to be that because he left me for someone that was completely different. And I'm like, why the fuck did you set these standards if you don't want them? But it was a control mechanism. It's like he created me to be something that someone else wouldn't want. Because he knew, like, he had one in the bag and he had one out on the street, essentially. So he's got one in the bag doing all the house stuff, housewife stuff, and some slag out in the street, doing what he actually wants them to do, looking the way he actually wants them to look. And I'm sitting there going, you piece of shit. You absolutely, I'm just a workhorse to you. I'm just someone in the home that wipes your ass and gets all your jobs done for you so you don't have to. And I lost my shit in him when I left. It's like, that was me not acknowledging how overcommitted I'd become in a relationship and sticking with it, trying to make it work because it was the right thing to do or perceived to be the right thing to do because we were married and I don't believe in divorce. You know, and it's even if it was harmful to me, I was going to stay. And that's the danger of being overcommitted because you know this prick is going to use you, but you don't want to leave. And I think as well, I was afraid of losing who I was because when I walked out of there, I died essentially. Everything I was that he had made me to be, I hadn't bothered making myself because I wanted to be what he wanted me to be. And when I walked out of there, I didn't have anything left. Everything that he wanted me to be had died because it had gone with him. And so I had to remake myself, who I thought I was, where I came from. I started embracing parts of my heritage and things like this that were actually part of my DNA and bloodline. And I started looking at my family, where not my immediate family, but you know, listen to the other podcasts. But you know, understanding my identity as one that I created myself. I never got a chance to do that because he got me young, and he sculpted me into what he thought I should be. And it happens way too many times with people that get married young. Like the other person just takes them, and you just get assimilated into their reality rather than creating one for yourself. So I remade myself. So who I am now, essentially, is only, what am I, like 37 now? 4 years old. It's only 4 years old. But I'm quite proud that, you know, when I was faced with the dipshit of my ex-boyfriend, who tried to drag me down the same way my ex-husband did, tried to fuck me over the same way as my ex-husband did, that I was able to stand up for myself and say, fuck no, I'm not doing this again. I've done this. I've lived this. This is what I've created myself to be now is way too valuable to be wasted on a fuckhead like this. So I'm quite proud of that fact, that I've got past that stage where I'm people pleasing to keep a reality going that is just poisonous. And, you know, one of my flaws is that I'm overcommitted, so, you know, I want that reality to work. It's not a good reality, okay? It's not good for you. You have to let go. It's not good for you. And we want it to work, damn it. We want the fairy tale. And one day, hopefully, I will get the fairy tale, but not with these fuckheads. You know? I would rather hold out for an actual emperor, right? Than fuck around with a Knight of Wands, you know? It's like, oh, it's here and now, so it's good enough. It's not fucking good enough. These people are pieces of shit. And parts of me do worry, because I am the committed kind. I do like long-term relationships. That's what I'm about. That's what I've always been about. But part of me is worried that I won't find someone, because I'm getting old now. I'm 37. People in the crowd are like, hey, that's not old. So he's old for me. But then I'm getting unbiased, aren't I? So, I'm past childbearing age, as far as I can see. So the drive to find a mate to have children with is gone. Not that it was ever really there, really. I'd rather have dogs. But, when there's a big push and you're in high school, it's like, oh, I gotta find a mate. And then in your 20s, you're like, oh, I gotta find someone to settle down with. And then you get to your 30s, you're like, fuck, why did I choose this asshole? You're like, wait, no, you're staring at the kids. And now you're locked into a contract you can't escape because you got kids and a mortgage. Shit. That's essentially, I managed to dodge that. Thank you, universe. But, it's like, a mortgage is very dissolvable. Kids are not so. You still got to associate with this asshole that you don't like, even because you've got kids, right? But I managed to dodge that, which was very either fateful or lucky, or I don't know what you want to call it. But I'm grateful for the opportunity to have a second life, right? But it's horrible. Because you want to commit to someone. Even now I'm willing to commit to someone. That's, I think, a good thing. I don't know. I mean, they're talking about when I first got divorced, they're sitting there going, the bravest thing you can do is try and make another relationship work. And I did. And they turned out to be an asshole too. I was sitting there going, how many of these assholes out here with baggage? Creating problems. I don't know. Overcommitment. Better than undercommitment. Or maybe not. I don't know. Emotional unavailability. Wow, that's a big one. You're hoping that when you find someone that they've got to be on the same emotional availability level, essentially, isn't it? Otherwise it's going to be bloody hard trying to make a one-sided relationship work, which is what I found in the last one. I was giving everything. I was up front. I wanted to make it work. I wanted this to work. I was open, and I didn't have any locks on any of my phones or laptops or anything like that. I'm like, I've got no secrets. Let's go. Let's do this, right? I've got no back history that's particularly horrible, like in terms of infidelity or anything wise. I wanted to make it happen. I'm sitting there thinking, look, I'll get it right this time, right? But then you meet Mr. Non-Committal, who says he's monogamous but isn't, who likes your bank account more than he likes you, and it's Peter Pan syndrome as far as I'm concerned. So you're like, fuck, it's another one of these guys. Great, I was married to one of these, so at least I can recognize now that this is bad. I'm not doing this. I'm looking for a clone of me with that's a guy, essentially. I'm hoping there's one out there. Oh my god. He's probably facing the same shitheads, but female form. You poor bastard. Oh my god. There's like an island of us somewhere. Somewhere there's an island of us. Where all of us are okay and the assholes aren't. Let's just be optimistic about this, right? Maybe naive. I don't know. Moral of the story, heal your baggage before you start trying to make relationships, I guess. Because the more baggage you take into a relationship, the worse it's going to go, and the more, you know, emotionally unavailable people you're going to be creating from your behaviors and actions. See, now I'm questioning, because of the last two assholes, what kind of guys are out here in this dark wilderness of the dating world. And I'm wondering just how fucked up this rabbit hole goes, right? It's like, this was just two. I'm sure there's worse. I don't know what's happening. What happened to the normal, you know, boy meets girl or girl meets boy and they just hold hands and, you know, get married and shit? I don't know. I had a very straightforward mindset with this. Now it's getting very fucking complicated. And it's all because people have got unhealed trauma and baggage. Ugh, gross. Anyway, so, you know, that's two. I'm hoping you guys have more experience with this, or better experience with this. Because it can't be fun. I mean, how many shitty relationships do you have to go through before you just go, oh, fuck it, I'm not doing this anymore? You've just been so bloody jaded. You gotta commit, right? You gotta commit. You gotta try. You know, Delta Goodrum, I was born to try. My mum didn't let us try. She was like, you're born to do it. It's like, okay. No try, there is no try. Yoda was right, there is no try, only do. Or something to that effect. I gotta watch it again. It's been a while since I've watched Star Wars. I like Star Wars. I don't know about the new ones. Anyway. Anakin. Oh my god, shut up. Anyway, so maybe that's what I'll do on the weekend. What can we do with our commitment? Where is this safe zone for people that are overcommitted? Like, how much of a fluke do you have to find an overcommitted person for an overcommitted person? Where do these people reside? Where the jadedness of shitty people hasn't just like fucked them up and made them undercommit now. I mean, I was talking about attachment styles. I was looking at, I mean, ideally you want a secure attachment. I've got an avoidant attachment at this point. I know that much. I don't have anxious attachment. I had it when I was with my ex-husband because my entire identity and who I was fixated on what he wanted me to be. So I had anxious attachment. When he left, I dissolved. After that, I decided, you know, part of me subconsciously decided we're going to be avoidant attachment to a degree because, you know, I was hesitant to get into a relationship with another potential ex-husband, right? So that was the fun part of the job. Now I'm trying to sort of stabilize. It's like, I understand that I want a relationship. I understand there is going to be trials and tribulations in that relationship. Part of maturing is understanding that people aren't perfect. What I don't want is another fucking asshole that's going to drain my bank account and use me for sex. So what do you do with it? I mean, I always thought gold diggers were female, right? It turns out they're male as well. I'm a bit bummed by that. It's very Austen though, isn't it? He was just another Wickham. Or maybe he was a Willoughby, you know, if you ever read Sense and Sensibility. Just a bastard. Married me for my £10,000. I don't know. Bastards. Wasn't faithful. He's actually there's more Wickham than anything. Why are we going on this tangent? I don't know. I've just arrived at work. I'm going to have to shut it down soon. Ooh, someone's motorbike. Hello. What is it? It is I don't know what that is. But you know, we're all optimistic that we're going to find the right person, that they're going to be a good match, that it's going to be long term, because we all want the fairy tale. Or I say the fairy tale. I generalize there. Some people are just in it for a quick fuck. Some people have worse trauma than me because they want that shit. It's like, talk about abandonment issues. It's like, I'm not going to commit. Therefore, I'm just going to fuck around until somebody gives up on me and I can't get laid anymore. You've got trauma worse than me, buddy. At least I'm willing to try and commit. Alright, what to take away from this? Commitment is important in relationships. If you want it to go anywhere, you're going to have to lay down your ego and actually bother getting involved in the situation, right? There's no good standing on the sidelines hoping that it will work and eventually someone will do it for you. You're going to have the balls to jump in and go for it. At the same time, in the same stroke, it is dangerous to overcommit. What I did was overcommit, and then ended up with this arsehole for 16 years that treated me like shit and then left me anyway. So, better, well, try and find the mid-ground, really, isn't it? You want a secure attachment. You don't want undercommitting. You don't want overcommitting. You've got moderation, really. I'm hoping you guys are in relationships, if you are in relationships, with great people. I mean, I would be tragic if they didn't do the right thing and you're stuck with these assholes. But at the same time, you've got to respect yourself and say, this person isn't good for me. Or, I mean, it's hard to detach yourself logically and look at it from an outside perspective because you want to be involved, or I wanted to be involved emotionally in the situation. I wanted to be all in. And I'm probably going to do it again, to be honest, because I can't help myself. When I'm in a relationship, I'm all in. Overcommitted, yeah. Could be a trauma response. But you got to look for outside. Is this person good for me? Are they going to help me with anything? Am I doing everything myself? Where is this going? Is it going anywhere? What is this person about? What are their morals? What are they contributing? So you can't just say, I love this person, it's enough, we'll make it work. It will be you will make it work, and they'll fucking sit around on their ass and do fuck all. So it's like, if that gets to that point, you need to leave, because that person is just leeching on you. It's cruel, it's horrible, and yes, you might have completely committed your entire life into this arrangement or this one-sided relationship, marriage, as I did. But, you know, have some self-respect, some dignity, right? You gotta fucking respect yourself, dude. It's self-love in that regard. I mean, self-love isn't just pampering and you know, mud masks and chocolate boxes. It's, you know, it's also saying this person's fucking toxic for me. I can't do this. Not that it's quitting, but it's you know, it's saying I'm actively stopping this because I know this is abuse and I know this is torture and I'm not doing this anymore. I'm more valuable than sitting in this situation and allowing this asshole use me like this. I'm way more valuable. Fuck this. Say it with me. I am fucking valuable. Do it. Do it. Saying thank you, Senator Palpatine. I know what I'm watching this weekend. Okay, so take it easy, guys. It is Thursday. I've got one more podcast on the way home, and then I got to go pick up this massive pile of shopping that I've pre-ordered. I hope you have a great Thursday. Okay, we've got one more day, and then it's the weekend. We can all eat our munchies and nice snacks. I hope you have a great one, okay? Take it easy. Look after yourself. Look after the people around you, of course. You don't want to leave those out. And have a great one, okay?
So space, night, death, darkness, not being there is an essential component of being there. You don't have the one without the other.